All right, welcome everybody to another SE Check-In. Today we are meeting with Mouziane Deeb. Mo was a star in the mid-'90s on some of arguably the greatest women's basketball team Southeastern put together. Mo, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. I want to knock something out first because I'm sure you get this a lot, and I get it even still. Pronounce for us your actual first name.
Okay. So I've had people tell me if I make the comparison to Mount Zion, that it helps click for them. So Mouziane, it's pronounced Mouziane. And then I guess
Mouziane.
Gotcha. I've actually been called a lot of things. I've even been called Miss Lasagna, and I was like, no. I don't know who gave you that one, but that is not even close.
I was gonna say, I'm sure that there has been a lot of confusion from time to time with that. So I wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to let everybody know who would be listening. You know, the new group of Southeastern fans that may not have had the opportunity to see you play and are learning more about your career now, the opportunity to, hear the pronunciation and everything. So moving on, a native of California, you ended up in Sand Springs. How did you guys end up making that move?
So to give you just a little bit of history, my name is actually Lebanese. So if people wonder what the ethnicity is, I'm half Lebanese. My parents divorced. My mom moved us kids to Springs to be closer to my grandparents. My grandfather was a U.S. Marine. And when he retired from the Marine Corps and he had a full career in the Marines, he came back to Oklahoma, where he's from, which is Sand Springs, and he opened up an automotive shop in Beaufort. So my mom, during the divorce, brought us back here so she could have her family support.
Excellent. So you're in Sand Springs. Now talk a little bit about your transition from Sand Springs to Southeastern. How did you end up as a Savage or a Lady Savage? Actually, I'm not sure what they called, what was sort of the common vernacular for the women.
Savage. It was uniform across the board. No particulars. I was recruited by Nick Keith. My grandparents actually brought me down for my visit on the campus. It was a funny story because I was actually nauseous on the ride with my grandparents because we didn't take the turnpike. We took back roads the entire way to Southeastern. So I had a little bit of car sickness, but they are the ones who brought me down. Coach Keith, met everybody, met the team, and I actually played, I'm pretty sure, I practiced with the girls. And so.
So you made what was it about Southeastern that made you go, I think this is the place? Was it me, him? Was it Coach Keith? Was it a combination?
It was my family. My family did not want me to go too far at that time. I was not being recruited many state school, Oklahoma State schools. I was being primarily recruited by out of state. North Texas was probably the biggest one to Southeastern, in addition to Ivy League teams and colleges. So they were really making a push for me to stay close. It was initial resentment on my part, but it's one of the jokes, and I said this, it ended up being the best place for me to be.
You come here and you land as a freshman right in the middle of Crystal Robinson's career here at Southeastern. And I want to talk a little bit about getting here, and you get to Southeastern at a point when they're really on their way, not just on their way up, among the nation's best when you get here. Talk about your transition into college ball.
Missing several passes from Crystal. That was probably my biggest eye-opener was, wow, she moves really fast. She's constantly thinking ahead. It's not one of the players that projects what they're going to do. You just have to know her well enough that she's already thinking 2 steps ahead. So she teaches you to start thinking 2 steps ahead. She's in fact, magnificent player person in bringing the best out of her teammates. She helps step up the game for all of us.
And along those lines, it's a lot of the headlines because of the record she put up and things like that and the numbers she put up. But those teams reached back-to-back national championship games as a team effort. Talk a little bit about not only how you feel you contributed, especially as you were a freshman and a sophomore during those seasons, but how you felt as a team that worked with such a dominating on-court performance as what Crystal put together.
I think my teammates and I would completely agree that in that time in our careers, it's probably one of the best mysteries I've ever been a part of. There wasn't jealousy. There wasn't the negativity that can surround teams with success, or not even success, just that can tear teams apart. We didn't have that. It was truly a most magnificent group of women who came together with this goal of, wow, we all contribute and we can get somewhere.
Well, and get somewhere you did. You went to back-to-back national championships. You obviously got your career off to a great start. Crystal completes her eligibility and goes on. What a lot of people probably don't realize is how successful you all remained. And, because a lot of people think of the mid-'90s as Crystal's time, but many could argue that it was just as much Mo and Vicky and Natalie, and you all put together some great careers. Half of the 1,000-point career list is made up of people that all played on the same team. So just talk about the transition into your junior year when obviously you were probably thrust into a much more of a leadership role. And as a team, you had to evolve. What was this team? How does this team score? How does this team rebound? How does this team play now that it doesn't have, maybe one of the best players to have ever played?
Well, the great thing about Crystal, and a lot of people don't realize it, or maybe they do, she attracted great players. It improved recruitment for women's basketball at Southeastern. So when she did leave, we still had really great core players left. I mean, my junior year, people expected us not to do much at all when she left. And we actually made it to the Sweet 16 that year nationally, and my senior year. But I mean, we had players like Shauna Folsom who stepped up, myself. Tiffany Kelly was there. I mean, positions that I wasn't typically playing, like a 5. Sometimes I'd have to step into that. Shauna was more of a 3 and she was playing a 4. I mean, I would have to say that group of women ended up playing a lot of versatile positions to whatever team threw at us. We were juggling people in different spots.
And we talked a little bit about this before, but you go through all of that, you go through those times, and over the course of your 4 years, maybe, and I don't have the numbers to go back and check everybody out, but you won 110 games over 4 seasons. You're averaging nearly right around 27 games, 27 wins per season. You won 35 as a sophomore, but you come back and you win 24 and 22 in your junior and senior seasons when people probably thought that, well, maybe they're not going to be as good now. And
right.
To maintain that success, and as you said, reach the Sweet 16, get back to that, to know that through your run, you were able to accomplish that. What does that mean to you personally?
Again, I think I thrive when people don't expect me to do, or others around us to do well. I like to prove people wrong. I guess maybe that's my personality, and I happen to be with a bunch of great ladies who the same way. And again, we were left with, like, Vicky Chaved was on that team still. We had great players still. It was those around us. It just goes to show you that team can, the depth. People will like to say Crystal, but she would be the first people to say, hey, I didn't do everything. These ladies did this, this, and this. And if anything, like I said, she left us in a great spot because she taught us things. We were used to winning. We knew what we were capable of. We knew we just had different players in those spots, and we had to juggle things.
So you had a great career on the court. You had a great career off the court at Southeastern. You had several academic awards while you were here. And academics, obviously, basketball was what it was, but you had academic goals down the road. talk about your initial, you finished up and you started your graduate work. Just talk a little bit about your transition into your post-basketball life.
You know, it was something I was ready for. I actually stepped in and became Coach Mike Matheny's GA for the intramural program at Southeastern, which was great because I got to work with so many wonderful baseball players. Then I started my graduate work at Southeastern in the Department of Psychology for counseling psychology. So my path for my undergraduate was education. I carry license to be a licensed educator in the state of Oklahoma. I wanted to push on. I just put myself in the role as a, mental health in Oklahoma, and I felt that was where I was needed.
So you went down that road. Talk about, you've just finished up, if I remember right, just finished up PA school, correct? Like you're finished it up and you're all of the, because you're going through a certification now?
Oh, now, yes, you mean now. Okay,
moving on from.
I left off. I'm so sorry. Yes, I went through Southeastern for my graduate work. I actually worked in mental health for 14 years as a licensed professional counselor. My bad. I'm sorry, Matt. I misunderstood what you were saying. And then I had a door open for me, and I've always loved medicine. And I decided it was a chance to go ahead and do it, and I did. I went ahead and applied to the physician assistant program here at OU on the health science campus in the city. And I graduated in October. I took my boards in October, passed my boards, and I signed a contract in the beginning of May, and I'm currently waiting credentialing, which is crazy, up to 120 days. And I will be starting in August 31st with my new facility.
So you've gone through quite a bit, you pushed through your education and post-grad education, and you finished up this. One thing that, as we talked about beforehand, that wasn't without its challenges.
No.
You went into PA school, you had to battle breast cancer.
I did.
Talk a little bit about from diagnosis through treatment and maybe how it affected you and had changed perspectives maybe.
I was diagnosed in June 2016. Here's your argument in the medical world. I turned 40 years old. My OBGYN said, "You're 40. It's time to get the mammogram." And I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Honestly, if I wouldn't have done that, I would have been in a world of hurt. They caught it on my mammogram. So August, I had mastectomy, and September, I started chemotherapy. I had 4 rounds of not fun chemotherapy. I lost my hair. I went through all kinds of stuff. And all while I did it, I actually stayed in school, education, because I had a couple prereqs I needed to get prior to applying to PA school. And I actually even interviewed for the OU PA program in a wig. They had no idea until the very end of my interview that I was currently in treatment. And the reason I addressed it with them was some of my references on paper. I felt like if they talked to them without me being there and found out that maybe I wasn't forthcoming with all my information, that they might not think I was ready. So I addressed it. I just wanted to let you know I'm in treatment and I will be ready by the time this class starts. And I've never seen 2 people so dumbfounded. They didn't even know what to say to that. And I said, well, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be ready because this is what I want to do. And fortunately I got in. So.
Well, and that did work out well. How long when you finish that up, have you been in remission and all of that since?
So I'm going to share something with you, a medical term. So remission is really not the right word to use. In the medical world, we use NED, N-E-D, which is no evidence of disease. I've been NED every year since then. I'm still heavily surveillanced, which is part of the protocol. I meet with my oncologist. I finally just graduated to every 6 months. I'm seeing him every 3. So I'm very thrilled. I love him. He's a fantastic man, but I told him I was ready to So, but I am very happy. I will say for me to get through that, here's my stubbornness again, is the fact that I didn't want to sit and focus on that. My perspective is I'm just going to continue to push forward and look at other things and distract myself. And I'm glad I did, because now I look back and I'm like, I don't know how anybody would have done what I did.
Well, so you finished that. You're in the process of taking a new job. Let's talk a little bit about, because this hints at that a little bit. I've been talking to people through this series, and Seth has too when he's interviewed, about how the lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to word it as, and COVID in general has affected how your life's been going. And we mentioned when we talked beforehand a little bit about how it's changed even the way you've gone through your getting your credentials and certifications and things. Just talk a little bit about how it's affected you professionally, personally, and some of the decisions you've had to make.
So I had job opportunities. I was very, very close to getting with area hospitals here in the Oklahoma City area, which is the area I live in now, that absolutely froze and closed up, because when surgery is not occurring in a hospital, the hospital is losing money. A lot of people don't realize that surgery funds other specialties within the hospital. So like you, Matt, that we were talking about, I liked surgery as well. And so I had some positions that were completely closed down, and they told me, we don't even know when we're going to be able to get the funding to reopen these. And so PAs I knew that were losing jobs or getting furloughed started to make me very nervous. And so instead I decided, this might be a time that we as a society or a nation start seeing that mental health is something that's not chronic or just, it's a community, mental health center. It's something that can affect everybody. So I decided to take a job in mental health. I will be working with an integrated facility, working on brain health. So I'm very much big on the mind-body connection, but it's not the path that I wanted, but I feel like life puts me down a journey that will put me where I'm needed at the time. And so I'm trying to remain open-minded about that. And again, I have 14 years of experience doing this. So I think in the end, this is a great opportunity for me to step out, share my knowledge and my new knowledge.
Well, as you said, your education was in counseling and psychology, and had many conversations with you knows that mental health is something that's high on your list of importance. Can you talk a little bit about your motivations for that?
Well, for those people who remember me from my early days at Southeastern know that I had some traumatic losses in my life. I lost my grandparents in the summer of, before my sophomore year, and then found out that my sister had taken her life before my first game of my first home game of my sophomore year. That definitely changed my path. I didn't want anybody ever to encounter what my family was going through. And still to this day, I remain an advocate for mental health. It's something that affects every family. It affects many people. And the more we can talk about it as a society and as friends, the more, the better the access for other people, the more safety we're providing other people. I just constantly want to normalize situations for people so they don't feel alone, because that's the worst feeling in the world, is when somebody feels like there's nobody they can relate to and there's nobody safe they can turn to.
And that's absolutely what, is affecting people across the board right now during the issues from COVID. And I could totally see that being a push for you, as maybe almost like it was intended to happen, like to push you in that direction, that it was not that it was intended to happen, but it was almost faithful for you.
And I had to, I honestly had talks with my family and friends that, the jobs that I was wanting that put on hold with COVID, I said, I wonder if this is the universe protecting me, because I am, chemo changed the way my cellular lines produce. My white count is low. That's my new normal. And so I was told by a couple close friends in the medical field not to take a COVID frontline job. They said, don't risk yourself right now. So like I said, I feel like things happen for a reason. And yes, I'm glad to be here and glad to be doing what I believe in.
All right, moving on, I want to talk a little bit as we get near the end here. You've been really good about hopping back through and keeping up with Southeastern athletics, but especially the women's basketball teams. And, you know, we just had Katie Webb catch up, and you know, you're for so long, your number was right up there beneath Crystal's. And then slowly you've had people come along and catch up with you. Talk a little bit about, you know, because we talked about this, so many people from your era dominated those record books because your teams were so good that now people are starting to climb up there. And, you know, especially somebody like, you know, because she just finished, somebody like Katie Webb, if you had the opportunity to talk to her, you know, to base in the times you've been through with her.
Katie, yes, I have met Katie. And I will tell you, for those who have not had an opportunity to chat with this young lady, she is super congenial, very kind. Matter of fact, I gave her, I don't know if it was the Southern Nazarene game or if it was in Durant, that I gave her a hard time, and I leaned up next to her and I said, so I hear you're going to be potentially breaking my record. I said, it's okay. I said, even though you're breaking it, it's okay. I said, I couldn't ask for a nicer person for it to happen to, because, I mean, just simply a very sweet girl.
Now, how closely do you follow? I mean, obviously you get on and probably check scores from time to time to see how the teams are doing, and you still have lots of people that you're in contact with in this area. But when you see them having success, how do you look at that as somebody who was part of the first real growth of success that Southeastern women's basketball had in its early days?
I'm exceptionally proud, because I think sometimes we get very focused on Division I, that we discount players and athletes at the other levels. And I use that as a reminder to demonstrate to people the amount of success and the type of athletes that Southeastern can pool. And so I'm just Durant is my second home. Due to everything that I went through as an athlete, they were my family. I have a lot of love for Durant. And so I am constantly trying to promote Durant when I can.
And we appreciate it. Well, what I like to close these is, first, is there anything you'd like to say just about your time, your feelings, or whatever, to the Southeastern fans about what the program means to you, or what they mean to you, or even just if there's just something you want to say about Southeastern athletics?
I would say what I would give advice to other young athletes. I would say never discount who you know and who you meet while you're at Southeastern, because I'm going to say it as somebody who benefited from it. I know that my connections, my friendships, my professional relationships helped me get into PA school. And this is 20 plus years down the road. These are relationships that are lifelong. So that would be the advice I would say, is cherish them, because these are going to be people you find in your life who truly care about you all the way to the end.
Well, Mo, it's been great catching up with you again. You are always welcome down here. We love to see you in person. Thanks for stopping by.
All right. Bye, guys.